welcome to 30 Something, where I talk all things personal finance, investing and medicine. So this video is a little different to the others I've posted up till now, but on another topic I'm passionate about, and that's medicine. Medicine and my journey to become a doctor has taken up a lot of my 20s and will continue to be a big part of my life for many years to come. Today I'll take you through the process of becoming a doctor and include bits of my personal experience with it. So if you're interested in what it takes to become fully qualified, then keep listening. Otherwise, feel free to skip off. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you would know that I'm a 30-something-year-old doctor. I'm an Australian, so this video is specific to the Australian process of qualifying to be a doctor, which is quite different to other countries such as the US, Canada and Europe. It's very similar to the UK system, however, so let's just begin. There are two pathways into medicine in Australia. Firstly, the Undergraduate Pathway and then the Postgraduate Pathway. I'll be discussing both of these today. However, note that I went through the Postgraduate Pathway, so I know a lot more about that. And it has now been well over 5 years since I tortured my way through the process. I'm semi-joking there, but it isn't an easy process, and it does require some hard work and dedication, and a lot of nerves. I'll start by talking quickly through the undergraduate pathway. This is when you usually go straight from school into medicine as an undergraduate bachelor's degree, although I think most have been converted into doctors of medicine recently. School in Australia finishes at the end of year 12 with some pretty big exams that lead to a mark that gets you into different degrees based on that score. This one way into medicine, but not the only way, as you'll find out in this video. Firstly, you must get good grades in school and complete the year 12 exams. I actually never sat these exams at all. I was homeschooled for a portion of high school, and therefore it isn't completely necessary, but a more straightforward way to get into undergraduate medicine. You are then given an ATAR, or Australian Tertiary Admissions rank, after completion of the final year 12 exams, which essentially ranks you against all other year 12 students. I believe you need to score in the high 90s to even be considered for entry into a medical degree. You may get some bonus points if you are disadvantaged, such as schooling in regional or remote locations. You also sit an exam called the UCAT, or University Clinical Aptitude Test, previously known as the UMAT. I've never sat this exam, so can't give much guidance on it. Most universities also run interviews or some other form of entrance requirement and application process. It's been a long time since I last looked up the requirements for undergraduate entry into medicine. I think it is important to note that you can get into undergraduate medicine without using your ATAR via doing another undergraduate degree and using your GPA. But this is a less common, and I think most universities only offer a few places per year for this alternate pathway. Then there is the postgraduate pathway, one that I'm very familiar with because I've been through this process from start to finish. I actually attempted to get into medicine 2 years in a row and was unsuccessful early in the process on that first attempt. In the meantime, I went and studied a master's degree to aid in being employable if I weren't to get into medicine that second time, as I was pretty aware of how competitive the process is, and actually the chances of not getting in were probably higher than it was for me to get in. Now, I'd like this to be a bit of encouragement to people out there who either didn't get a good enough grade ATAR in high school to get straight into medicine. I don't even have an ATAR at all and got into undergraduate degree through an alternate bridging pathway, which was free and prepared me well for university life and study. So the most important thing you can do to get into postgraduate medicine is choose an undergraduate degree that you enjoy and therefore you will get a high GPA in. It does not matter which one for most of the universities. I had classmates who were lawyers, teachers, psychologists and had art degrees, etc. It was actually pretty varied. Most of my colleagues had actually done biomedical degrees or some form of allied health degree, but definitely were plenty of others who didn't. I personally did an allied health degree prior to medicine and then a professional master's degree. That is one of the good things about postgrad med. It's the variety of people and experiences they bring to practice. It's actually pretty incredible and, in my opinion, makes better, more rounded doctors at the end of the degree. The next big and expensive step is sitting the GAMSAT, or the Graduate Australian Medical Schools Admission Test. This is usually an all-day exam, I believe, though it changed a bit and is online at the moment due to COVID. And when I did it, was in a big exam centre sitting with thousands of other people. I think in my year there was about 12,000 people across Australia who sat the exam for about 3,000 interview places for about 1,200 places in medical school Australia-wide. The exam consists of 3 sections, one in humanities, one is an essay writing section, and the third is in the sciences. I sat this exam twice, a year apart, after getting under 50 in the science section the first time, which is unfortunately means I couldn't get into most medical schools as it was an automatic exclusion. It's a hard exam with a lot of time pressure. I have no desire to ever do it again. I do wonder if I'd do better at it now though, post my medical degree. There's lots of resources online to aid in studying for this exam, but feel free to comment down below if you want any specific ones, and I'm happy to contact you privately. I'd also recommend becoming a member of the Paging Doctor Forum if you haven't found it already. There you can find more insights into the application process, medical school, and life as a doctor, as this is all good things to know before committing years of your life to something. Once the exam is done, you get an individual score for each section, plus an overall score. I actually scored pretty low, even on my second attempt, especially thanks to my weakest section being double weighted as well. That's the science section. The exam isn't a straight knowledge test and actually quite abstract in the way it asks the questions, and the time pressures are incredible. After you've completed the exam and passed, you can then apply to either the universities directly, or if they are part of the GAMSAT consortium, then it's part of an online matching system. Some universities use a portfolio as well, which were the ones I focused on because I knew I had a lot of valuable experiences and needed something to counteract my poor GAMSAT score. My GPA actually was very high, but still not quite high enough to make up for the low GAMSAT. Another thing that the universities account for is whether or not you have a rural background. 25% of places go to rural background students, and therefore the marks to get in are slightly lower for these people. This is because the government believes that rural people are more likely to go back and practice rurally, and if you know anything about Australia, a lot of it is very rural and remote. After going through this part of the application, you're then ranked based on each of the university's priorities and weightings and offered an interview if ranked high enough. For example, my university ranked portfolio and interview much higher than the GAMSAT, which helped me greatly because I performed better in those things. So some of the strategies for applying is picking universities that actually suit your strengths. Once your applications are in, you then wait a few months to find out whether you are offered an interview or not. The interviews are either a panel-based interview or a multi-mini station interview, which is what I did during my process. The questions were mostly ethical-based, why you deserve to be in medicine, as well as seeing your beliefs and ability to empathise, as well as just being a nice person. It's a really nerve-wracking experience, but in hindsight, it was actually pretty fun. Then after interviews, you wait and you wait some more. There's a lot of this during this application process. You sit the exam in March, apply in June, wait for offers, which come out in August and September for interview in September, and then wait until November to know whether you got in. It was literally the longest year I've ever experienced as far as nerves and waiting and just not knowing. I remember the whole process pretty vividly, even 6 years later. Then, if you're lucky enough to be offered a place, this comes via email and is pretty anticlimactic. But I think this is the moment I will always remember. I was at a placement for my master's degree I was completing in the office when the email came out, completely distracted. All I saw was the first line, which said, "Congratulations," but the email would not open. And the next client turned up Talk about suspense. After this client finished, I was able to read the email, and yes, I got into my first preference university. I was beyond happy, and all the stress and hard work finally paid off. I sent a quick text to my parents and impatiently waited to finish my prac for the day so I could call everybody. I don't think I've ever felt so happy in my life. 2 years of expensive exams and applications, stress and suspense all finally paid off. I was going to be a doctor. Well, if I passed my exams. The imposter syndrome was in full force the next 4 years, where my brain continually would say to me, it was just a fluke or mistake you got in. And then the same for every assessment and exam, even after 4 years of passing every single assessment and exam first try, actually very rare in medicine, as resets are fairly common. I still couldn't quite come to terms that I was there and that I was smart enough after all to do medicine. The 4 years, or 5 to 6 years if undergraduate of medical school in a nutshell, is this: lots of study, hard work, and a fair share of stress. But also a fair share of fun, bonding with your classmates, and just great memories. I didn't love everything about my degree or medicine in general, but even in the very low points of my medical degree, I still knew that this was the right choice of career for me, and I held on to that to help me get through. Before you knew it, 4 long but actually very quick years later, graduation day came along. It was literally the most incredible thing. I was in shock still that I even got into medicine, let alone successfully completed it, but I was excited to finally get to work and earn some money. 8.5 years of tertiary education later, I was unsurprisingly ready for that money and income, and then became the next chapter of working as a doctor. I'll leave my experiences as a junior doctor to another video, as this one's probably long enough now. But it has been a wild ride of some really low points and some really, really high points. And I'm sure will continue to be, because that's medicine for you. But I have not once regretted my decision, and for the most part love what I do. I can't wait to see where medicine takes me in the future. So thanks for joining me. Let me know if you're interested or not in hearing more about life as a doctor in the future. It's another passion of mine and a massive part of my life, obviously, so very happy to share more. I hope you enjoyed the video anyways, and if you did, let me know down below. Also happy for any feedback, positive or constructive, so comment that down below as well. I hope the quality of my videos has improved since my first one. I feel like I've learnt so much in a few short weeks. Have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.